others. Yeah.
Mm.
Hey, Sharon.
Hi, sorry, I didn't. My speakers weren't working before, so I don't know whether you said hello. But hi.
How are you?
Great.
Yeah. So tonight I thought I haven't planned something as if like I haven't got a concrete plan, but I kind of did that on purpose. What I want to do tonight is, and I'll just share my screen so you can see this. I think it's this one. Can we all see the screen?
Yep.
So tonight I want to build something with AI, but I want to go through the process of how I would do it. And so you can apply these same principles to any problem. Okay, so this is from very simple up to very complicated. It's a very straightforward approach. And the thing I would say about it is 99.9% of people will never try this because they think they can't. But what I want to get out of this lesson is you actually can do this. And the other thing I do is park any notion that, you know, anything you build actually must be enterprise ready or production ready for it to be valuable to you. So AI, the language of AI is actually code. It's not the LLM. The LLM can help you write software that can control the AI to get you an outcome. But we have been trained throughout our entire career to think code is only the domain of a software engineer. And we're also taught that that's dangerous, and IT says no. And I think what's going to happen very quickly is people are going to learn how to do what I'm going to do tonight, and they're going to have wild levels of utility that they've never had before. Does that make sense? So the first stage of building something is actually coming up with your idea. Now, the idea you have could just be a set of notes. But what we need to understand is we can actually work with AI to brainstorm our idea. Okay, so tonight, what I thought we could build end to end is an application that helps people to prepare for a job interview. Okay, now I haven't pre-canned this, so it's going to be a bit of a choose your own adventure. But I did that on purpose because I wanted each step to be a bit of a struggle. Okay, so you'll sort of see the failings through it. But this model you could use for any scenario type situation. So it could be a doctor wanting to train for their medical exams, or it could be a student trying to train for some test or assignment. It could be a job interview. There's a lot of educational use cases where this could be a useful thing. So the first thing I usually do is I just start off with a blank document. And what you want to say is you just want to frame the essence of what you're trying to do. So, and let's play with the AI. So I want to build a product to help students to practice for job interviews. Okay, but I don't want it to be generic. I want the application to allow a student to pre-configure some information about themselves. So it might be their resume, their skills, their interests, what job they want, and their hopes and dreams as an example. Then I want to be able to let the students configure the job they are going for. So it might be the position description, information about the company, the level, and other important information. Then I want the student to be able to configure the job interviewer personality. Are they tough? Are they easy, etc.? And I'd like to build an app that allows all this to be configured. And then I want the student to have some kind of simulation or chat with the Anthropic key. Could you think deeply about this agent and come up with a sensible design, a sensible user interface, and a sensible architecture that I could, in the form of a prompt, that I could give to Claude Code to build for me? Does that all make sense, guys? So all I've done is, now I could probably just give that to Claude Code and Claude Code would go and work that out straight away. But let's see what prompt it comes out with if I put that in. So we'll just bring up Claude. We'll put that in there. So it's told me a Next.js app with the Anthropic SDK, the interviewer personality abstraction, tough, easy slider, a rich model, simulation loop. So that's really just the intro prompt. So now what it's going to do is it's going to write me the prompt. And we'll have a look at that. So it's always good if we're going to work on a project just to start a new folder, which I've put here, Interview Boss. There we go. So it's writing our okay. Okay, so we've got the project goal. We've got the tech stack. The information architecture. It's actually got the data models, the jobs, the interview personas, the interview session, the interview feedback, the prompting layer, the file structure of everything it needs to build, the order of the build. So if I was doing this in real life, I would sit and I'd look at that really carefully, but let's just give it a go of what it's come up with. So I'll just download that and I will put that in there. Now, tonight, I'm not going to use, you can use Claude Code in the code tab here in the Claude app. But what we might do tonight is we might do it through the command prompt. So I can show you what that looks like. So I'll put this away. So the command prompt comes from the terminal. Okay, so what I normally do is I normally just say change directory to documents interview boss. So that will basically get me to a folder. And then I just hit Claude. So I want it to be able to access. So there's my folder, documents interview boss. So if you just change the directory to the folder that you want to go to, it'll automatically point this in the right spot. Now here's Claude Code. Now this is where it all started for me. They've sort of made it more user-friendly now, but this is kind of a cool way of doing it. So in here, I've got this prompt, and I just talk to this like a human. I want to build an app, and the spec is set out in the file interview practice Claude code prompt.md. I'd like you to help me build this with the Anthropic Claude API. And I'd like to run it locally initially. Okay. So Claude Code will go, cool. I'm going to go and look. I'm going to find that file. And even if you spelt that wrong, it'll probably still work it out. And what it's going to do, it's going to go and read that. I've read the spec. It's detailed and well scoped. Before I start scaffolding, I have a few quick questions to confirm so I don't have to redo work later. Oh, yeah, let's do 4.6. Yep, we want to use... Now, if you don't understand what this means, you can always just copy and paste that and put it into Claude and go, what should I do? You could go back to the original. But let's go to the... It usually recommends something. So npm package manager. Do you have... Yes, I have an API key. A Git repo. No, skip Git for now. Git is like a tool where you can put the code so you can... it's more of a programmer thing. Okay, submit the answers. Now remember, we're building something here with utility, and we'll see how fast it builds this. I don't think it'll take too long, but if you had a piece of work at work and you wanted to solve for it, you could build your own agent to do the work for you. Yeah. So this is an agent that's helping us write a piece of software to solve a particular problem that we have, which is in this case an interview. But it's pretty much, you can build anything you want. Like it's very flexible. So this all looks complicated, but usually if you just sort of follow along, and if you don't understand something, just you can just ask it. You can also tell it, I'm a real noob. You've got to help me with every step, and it'll slow down and it'll make it easier for you. But most of this is just kind of, okay. So look, it's already written this much code. So it's connected to the folder, and it's just like a machine. It's just punching out. It's just writing all the code for us to run this up. I hope it doesn't do it in 2 minutes. I have nothing else to do. Now, to install Claude Code on your machine, it's exceptionally simple. How do I install Claude Code? You basically just grab that and put that into your command, and that'll install it. And then you just have to basically authenticate to your account and either have set up the API billing, or you have, I think it's Claude Max is the minimum you can use on this now. But yeah, so basically you just have to open a terminal and type that. I'll just put it in the chat. Where is it? Chat.
But you've got to have an account or an API key.
Yeah. So you go there to that. You just go to your command and install that, and you get the key from. I think it's like I normally go to console.anthropic.com, and obviously you've got to log in. But this is like the developer side. But all you have to do is go to. So I'll put this in here as well.
What's an API key worth?
It's free.
Right.
So an API key is. So you go to that website. An API key is it's basically like a metered gate where you can access Claude Code. So you can access the coding engine, and those tokens you have to pay for. But if it's something simple, it's very, very cheap. Like you're not going to spend lots of money. Like you might spend, I don't know, $1 if you're using it for a while. It's not super expensive. But the one thing I would say is you need to keep. I've got mine set up so when the tokens run out, it turns off. So I might put $20 in, and they last me like ages, like maybe a month, or maybe longer actually, for $20 worth. But if anybody else gets that key, they might go and exploit it. So you want it set it up so that you've got like a limit, a cutoff. Because if you have it unlimited and someone gets that key, they could go and spend $100,000 on it. I mean, it's probably not likely, but yeah. So you've got to protect. So that key, I'll produce one in this, but as soon as this is over, I'll just delete it. So
yeah.
You've got to protect that key.
So, bit of a dumb question, but like for just the novice, how much better is Claude compared to Copilot and things like that?
I think it's fair to say at the moment it annihilates it. It's not even really close at the moment. I see that Microsoft has started doing they've brought out a new product called Cowork, which I find hilarious because it's like Cowork's the Anthropic name as well. So they're muddying the water there. Apologies for my son in the background. But apparently they're using Claude as well. So
I've been using Copilot a fair bit because it's free and it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OpenAI has an equivalent product to this. It's called Codex.
Yep. Codex,
yeah.
Yep.
And Google has one that's basically, it's almost for free as well. And you can get it through a tool called Anti-Gravity.
Anti-gravity. Yep.
Anti-gravity, or they have a similar like command line tool as well.
Yep.
Okay. So the application is still coding. What you can also do is, in this particular example, there is no data. But if you wanted to process some kind of data with an application, you could put the data in this folder, and then the AI would have access to that data.
Yeah.
So you can build these to do work on whatever you want. So if you see this little list here, it's basically done an analysis of our prompt, and it's built up a little plan, and now the agent is working through each step of the plan. But we can see over here how much it's already. You can also set up Claude Code to just automatically click enter on these. I don't do it because I like to understand sort of what's happening. But you can just get it to run on its own. You can also click this /effort. So if you hit / here, you can actually configure things. And the effort one is like how much you want to think on each prompt. I set it to very high because I find it makes less mistakes. And on the max plan, it lasts quite a long time anyway.
Yeah.
I coded almost all of yesterday. Like when I mean all of yesterday, like a lot of hours, and I used about 17% of my weekly Claude Code, which I thought that was quite reasonable because I really hammered it.
Yeah.
Now, this particular tool, we could also do this with Replit as well. So think about this tool. So this tool, we'll let this tool go. And what I might do, so if you want an even easier way to do it, that's my, all right, I'll show you something else. Replit.com. So you just put that code there, and we build this. So this is obviously like, this is like a level up. So this is a lot more powerful. It's using the same technology, but it will do a lot more easier for us.
So does that cost you more, Tim?
Yeah, this will cost me more.
Mm-hmm.
This one's about $15-20 a month. But then the usage, like they give you credits on that, but you run it out and then. The cool thing about this one though is this one will like build it and then it will let you deploy it by just publishing it, and it'll manage the server and everything. But what you can also do is you can download the code, put it into Claude Code, and then you can say, hey, let's deploy this to my own server. Yeah. So you can use something like Hetzner, and you can actually create a server, and then you ask Claude Code to deploy this app. So remember, in our folder, we've got our app. You can connect Claude Code to this and then say, I want to deploy this app on Hetzner, and it knows what Hetzner is, and then it will just help you deploy it onto a server, which is kind of cool. Then there's heaps of tools like Hetzner. I mean, that's one where there's a physical server being launched, but there's a lot of like virtual cloud servers you can use as well. So let's keep this going. So this is basically the same thing, but it's kind of a bit more advanced. So as you can see, there's nothing I've done here thus far that requires any technical programming skills. I've just written it in a Word document, pasted it in. You kind of got to know a little bit about, your way around, but it's not. And I think that step from I have a general idea of something I want to achieve to get the AI to help me figure out how I could do that. That's a step I don't think, because a lot of people think they have to have the full design. All I did was I gave it a general, and then it has design skills. It has front-end interface skills. It has all the coding skills necessary. So it gives a really lay person. So this is getting through the list. So we've done the first two. Now we're building the actual user interface. And then it'll build the application programming interface routes to Anthropic, so it can have a conversation with you. They're talking in the AI industry about building models now that do this kind of work faster. So the metric is not just the quality, it's the speed. And so they're talking about in the future, you may end up with a situation where your computer wants something. Like it might be, I want to book a flight to America, but I also want a hotel and I want something else. And it's like a unique situation. And they're talking about the user interface of the app wouldn't be a fixed product. The AI agent would actually write code for the user interface depending on the question. And those models could essentially run on the device. So you could end up in a world where apps kind of die. That's where they're talking about this all going. So at that point, it's really the data and the data structures that's going to matter, and then the user interface. You can set your own user interface. You can tell it what you want it to look like, and it'll create it for you. I think that's where it will go.
I read a bit of a brief article on how many job losses AI has already invoked, but I didn't really get through it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think if you do repetitive, if you just do work on a computer moving things around with little creativity, I think you're in a lot of trouble.
Mm.
It's going to come like a train. But the way I look at it is it's actually going to give us a lot more labor. With robotics and AI together, there'll be a lot more work done because you're going to be able to do exponential more amounts of work.
Yeah.
And if that's true, we're going to be wealthier as a group. And then it's a question of how do we allocate it to everybody? That's going to be the societal challenge. But I think if the people are all starving, it's not really going to work because you're not going to build utopia if everyone's hungry and doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
I think they'll just have to come up with a model where people get their base needs and then.
What happens, Tim, in other languages? Like, does Claude run in any language? Like, if I was in, I don't know, Mexico, well, not Mexico, but let's say Nepal. If I'm in Nepal, and does it do Nepalese?
Yeah, it does actually. I don't know if it covers every language on Earth, but yeah, these models you can convert them pretty much in any language, so you can talk to them in any language. And if you want, we could add that feature to this. Why don't we do it in French? So we could just. So yeah, you could, like, because it's being generated, you can definitely say, "Hey, conduct the interview in French," and it would be in French. Yeah. But it would be hard for me to do that because I don't know what it's saying. But yeah, it's very, like, the language models are very, very good at translation. In fact, that's probably one of their party tricks. So
right.
I was building some agents looking at sentiment in China, like what's happening on Chinese social media, and it was pulling all the data off the social media in Chinese and then writing reports in English based on what they were saying. And it's funny seeing translations of Chinese because it's quite blunt, like the way it translates. But yeah, so I built an agent to connect to a thing called TickHub, which connects into social media. It was looking for certain things. It went into the API, it pulled 2,000 things on a topic, and then it could translate it all and write your report on intent, etc. And I actually did that with a very similar to what I'm doing right now. So that was, I just asked, this is what I want to do. It suggested, and the AI, like, if you don't know of APIs or that kind of thing, just ask the AI. The AI will know, like, what servers are good and what products, and that's on the list of things to do. Like, it's building a software doesn't always just have to be buttons and user interface. It can also be APIs, or you can bring data in. And the other thing I've been learning is you can build front-end components that will interact with AI. So, say, you had some sort of submission from a human, and then you want some nuance in the way that's presented back to the user in a graphical sense, like, to submit it or ask a follow-up question. You can actually get AI to basically build components to build custom front ends. So it doesn't just have to be like, a text-based AI. It can also be like buttons and all sorts of stuff. So hopefully this is nearly done. We're still working through. And when you get to the end of this, like, you have to deploy it. And sometimes it'll just do it for you. But if you don't understand how to deploy an app, which, to be honest, I'm not 100% great with it because I'm not a developer, but I usually just say, like, I'm a beginner here. Can you take me through all the steps? And it will basically say, do this, do this, do this. And you just follow them. And yeah, I've almost never built something that it just hasn't worked.
Mm.
And it kind of tests itself as well. So it'll sort of run the code and check things and make sure it all works. In the early days of vibe coding, so I started doing this vibe coding thing when it was like brand new. It was much slower, and like each step took quite a long time, and there's a lot of errors, and you had to sort of hustle your way through. But now the models just seem to be getting so good. Like these agent frameworks, these models just know now. And so, yeah, you almost never sort of get it wrong. So here, this has just tried to load the page for the first time. It's found an error. And the other cool thing is if it runs some sort of error, just feed the error back to the agent, and the agent will go, oh, okay, I did something wrong. And it'll go and debug it, fix it. And this tool here, the Replit tool, it even does security reviews. So it'll run your entire code base through an engine that'll look for every single security vulnerability, and then it will fix them all. You can build some pretty... I think they've done a deal with Microsoft as well to have this sort of enterprise, so companies can build apps and go through all those processes. But trying to get this stuff into corporate land is really difficult because there is a level of risk involved in it. That's why I tend to just run stuff locally, because I think it's relatively safe. Okay, so Interview Coach is nearly finished on Replit. Now, if you had a look or feel or a color scheme or a website you want it to look like, you could actually just give it the URL or the code, and then it will refactor everything to look and feel the way you want it to look as well. Okay, I'll just put this down for a moment. That one's actually nearly finished as well. Okay. Yeah. So this here, I clicked somewhere and it died. It can just go and look at the logs, and it'll go, oh, there's something wrong. Found it. And it'll just go and fix it. So that's still working. Sorry if it's a bit confusing. I'm doing two at once.
Yep.
But do you see how this is like most people wouldn't even attempt this. It just seems too hard. But I mean, there's nothing I've really done that's that difficult.
Mm.
And the more you do it, the more you sort of get used to the little, like the language and sometimes I just ask AI, like, what does this mean? Or, you know, and it'll teach you. Another cool thing I think to do is to go and do like, I don't know, maybe a Python course or some, you know, some basic coding stuff. So when you see code, you kind of at least understand what it's doing. You know, like you don't have to be a developer as such. Because I found when I did programming at university and stuff, you know, if you got like one tiny little letter wrong, the whole thing would fail. and it was very hard to get to high proficiency because you just it'd do your head in. Like you'd just be writing this all manually. It would take forever. So unless you were really passionate about it, I just didn't think you'd ever get there. So I never did. But now, because you can write code, you can kind of muddle your way through and still do pretty cool things. Okay. Okay. I am a newbie at this. Can you help me set my API key and run the application locally in the terminal for the first time? Okay. Now, I could probably do that on my own, but I'll just show you what this does. Of course. So we need to get our API key and paste it in here. Okay, so it's just brought up my API key. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across to get API key. I'm going to create it. I'm going to add it. Now this is the one you don't want to give to other people. But if I copy that, I'm pretty sure I just paste that in there. Save. Yeah. No quotes, no spaces, so it looks like this. Then click save and close the window. Okay, so I've added my Anthropic key and saved it. So now, in this case, I don't need to run a terminal because it's going to do it for me. I could also say I want to run the codes myself, and it would be fine as well. But it can do it for me. So this is interesting. Let me save a couple of facts about you so I can pitch future explanations at the right level. So it has a memory bank. Because I told it I'm a newbie, now Claude will behave that way in future. So over time, it kind of gets to know you. So here we go. So if I grab this, now I was coding yesterday, so I hope it's not going to conflict with something else. There we go. So,
wow, that's very cool.
So yeah, so you can think about, at an enterprise, this could be useful. So I'll put Timothy Beaver, him, headline.
Where's the data going to save?
Where's
the data going to save? Back in that folder, or?
In this case, there probably isn't a database associated with this.
Right.
It's probably just a session.
Right.
But if you wanted to create like a user account and a database to store the data and have
CRM,
you would just go and ask it to add that.
All right. Okay.
And it will go off and create a database and it'll do stuff.
Right.
So that would be like, but I didn't do that today because that takes longer and it's more effort.
Yeah, that's right.
But I could
this is a session. I get that.
Technology strategist, X management consultant, genetic engineering and information systems. Long time out of uni. We'll just put 2006. That's how old I am. 2006. My resume. Let's see. I wonder if I've got my resume somewhere. Where would my resume be? Downloads. Should be here somewhere. Documents. I'm just trying to make this realistic so you can kind of see it. Just go down here. Drive. Here we go. Oh, so if I have it in another, where the hell did I put it? Oh, here we go. So I'm just going to put my resume in there.
Language is French.
I won't put that in there because it's not me.
I'm only joking.
That's cool. I like that feature. Languages, just write English. Certifications. I'm a Salesforce administrator. Cool. Experience. Management consultant. Deloitte. 2006 to, oh, Jesus. 14. Oh, number, okay, so 9 years there. Three years there. And okay, cool. One of my goals, I want to do AI. I want to go live in the desert and do AI. Wheel driving and EVs. How do you like to communicate? Yeah, whatever. Some fields need a moment more. Check the highlighted boxes. So that's like a bug. It's kind of annoying. Got a bug where it won't let me save my profile unless everything's there. Let's see if I can start the interview anyway. Yeah, so you get the idea. I don't know if it's actually going to get me to what job am I going for? AI engineer at Microsoft. I'll just make something up. Industry, software, what level? Senior, Melbourne, Australia, on site, CTO, AI helper to education, industry, help clients make transition, blah, blah, blah. Big software company, I just want this job. Big and smart. 100K, notes, none. Yeah, cool. So software engineer, a skeptical one, 15 minutes. There we go. So it's working. First go. So it's still a little bit clunky. Like what I would do is I'd go through that and I'd just write, hey, I don't want everything to need an input, etc. Okay, I'm a lead here at Microsoft, works education clients. You got 15 minutes. Let's get straight into it. Looking at your resume, you've clearly been on the AS code. You mentioned a portfolio of 30 plus production agents. Tell me about one of these agents specifically. I built an agent to help students to get ready for job interviews. It was awesome. What specifically did you build? I built it with Claude Code on a lesson with my students. I think it was in React. You can look. Yeah, it's not production yet, but I have the path to do that. I'd deploy it onto Hertz, my own server, and I'd get Claude Code to do it. No, my resume doesn't say that. Yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah.
So you could tune this, and you could come up with something pretty cool. Let's see what happened here. Wonder. Now how do I run the interview? Or have I got to actually unlock it all first?
that layout looked a bit like Seek, didn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe not, but I thought it did.
If I can. Python, technical skills, AI, leadership, public speaking, AI jobs. It's just BS, but that's interesting. I reckon Claude Code's done a better job at this time.
Mm.
You know, how do I do the interview? So also don't assume that it's going to work the first time. Like it'll only get so far, but you basically just work with it and you just talk to it. And this here is also an app that has functionality and it has some sort of API and it's using data. It's writing all the prompt engineering behind it. You could equally write an agent to, I don't know, look at a whole set of transactions and find all the ones that don't meet a certain compliance. So you could give it the rules and you could give it the transactions and you could get it to go through and assess every single one and write down whether you think it's compliant or not, the confidence level, the reasons why it might or might not be compliant, and then summarize that up into some sort of report. So that would be something you could build as well. And you could run that locally on your machine. You know, if you've already got the spreadsheet, you could process it through. Okay. Yeah, there's no.
Do the interview.
There is no button to enter interview. So it actually may have written it all, but it's forgotten to put it somewhere.
So you have to complete your profile.
Yeah, I wonder if it's
Interview code.
Yeah.
Well, the button just appeared.
Tim, I'm creating one in Replit while we've been talking. I
Yeah.
think it's amazing how it fixes its own errors. So hang on, there's an error there. I'll just fix it. And then I clicked the create, and then it goes, oh no, that didn't work. Hang on, let me fix that. It's hilarious.
I think that's the aside from the detail of debugging this app. So when the LLMs came out, everyone fixated on, if I ask this a question, does it write the correct answer on the page?
Yeah.
That, I think, completely misses the point. The LLMs are exceptionally good at coding, and if you allow them to recursively work, meaning here's a problem, break it into 10 steps, go and do the 10 steps, then check each step, then like that's actually the power of AI. But I think that requires an enormous amount of infrastructure. So I think the LLMs in the start were like, they were sort of the change program, you know. But I also think, and I really believe this, I reckon that all the AI companies are probably cooperating more than you think. I saw XAI just supplied their data centers to Anthropic. And, you know, the prize here is not to sell everyone a $20 ChatGPT license. The prize here is to build new products and services that change the way the world works. And
it's the impact that they have.
But here's the really interesting thing. The first thing they did for the first 12 months when this technology came out was they just went on and on and on about ethics. Ethics, 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 ethics. Now, if you wanted to take over industries, I think that that would make perfect sense. And I actually find, and this is not, I'm not saying this negatively against Microsoft, but I think Microsoft is purposely making their products a bit crap. And I think they're doing it because the legacy market, like having a human being sitting writing a Word document, there's millions of licenses worldwide.
Yeah.
But as we know, with Claude Code now, you can do the formatting on a document like this automatically. So why wouldn't you enable that? And it's like, oh no, we don't enable that yet because we don't have that yet. And so I think what they're doing is they're protecting their old market while making investments in the new stuff. But also, like, they gave the industry, or all industries, you know, a couple of years to build all this infrastructure around ethics. Now, if you take an old legacy organization and you set up all these barriers and boundaries of what you can and can't do, what invariably happens is everybody thinks about AI through the lens of use cases. You know, it's we've got to have use cases, and then we've got to have a committee, and we've got to have governance to decide which use case gets through the committee. But I would argue that if you gave every staff member the skills I have, and I reckon you could teach the skills I have, every staff member could become, you know, orders of magnitude more productive. And so I think the North Star for a lot of organizations is help humans to solve problems better and stop thinking about it as like an IT project. So don't think I need to build an app for 10,000 users and it needs to be all, you know, certified and signed off and everything. Like, if a user can take some data that they used to do in a spreadsheet and then they can write an agent to solve a particular problem, that's actually going to give an organization more performance. Yeah, so I just think, you know, and particularly like education organizations, you know, I'd be teaching. So I had a lesson a couple of weeks ago where I taught, it was like about 7 teachers. And I built a lesson that had 7 things a teacher could do just with basic tools to help them do their job. And one of them was like, you know, to take a piece of curriculum and make it easier and harder for the kids that are, you know, advanced or not so great. The other one was, you know, how do I take some notes and turn it into some email to a parent? You know, just really, really simple things, but things that they do every day that takes time. And, you know, they all got to the end and sort of, we did like 8 things in the lesson, and we were writing documents and refactoring things, and we built a little HTML agent that teaches a kid how to draw parabolas. And, you know, because you could change the little dials and move the parabola around the screen so you could understand the principles. And they're like, you know, there's only like 10 teachers at this school. Like, why don't we all have this? Like, why don't we just get it out of our funds and like go and buy this so we can do this stuff? And it's sort of like, yeah, why don't you do that? You know, but waiting for permission, right? But it's endlessly creative. So you can mash this, you know, you can draw things with this. You can do voiceovers. There's agents that can build videos. You can build presentations. It's just, there's a whole world of things that these agents can build now. And so I just think giving people the opportunity to play with them. And I would say, you know, if you're going to start playing with agents, you know, don't start with passport data and financial data and stuff like that. Just start with basic stuff and sort of learn your craft. And once everybody normalizes and goes, hey, this isn't so scary, we can actually do stuff. You know, then those more sensitive use cases will become more natural. And I think, you know, it's just code. So you can put it through a process to get it certified and ready.
Yeah.
So that's all I had tonight, but you could sort of see, you know, so just play with it. You've got your command line, that's free. You can write software, that's free. There's a lot of APIs that are free. The only thing you've really got to pay for now, you could build simple versions of agents with just HTML. So if you wanted, if you just wanted to build a really simple agent, you can. And there's ways to do it sort of manually. I think the Google API is, if you use, I think it's under 60 calls a minute, it's free. So you could do what I just did tonight with anti-gravity for free. There's a lot of tools you could use for free. But also, I just think, you know, getting some commercial tools, they're not exactly expensive. Like tonight, that probably cost me 10 cents. Probably the Replit one probably cost me $2 or something.
Cheap, isn't it?
So yeah, it's not expensive. And I reckon organizations should think about AI as like a human resources equation. So like I'm hiring a person and that person costs $130,000. How much capability am I getting out of that investment? And I would say, you know what, if I spend an extra $2,000 on them and give them the best tool, you know, like, so this co-work thing's about, it's about $150 a month. So let's say it's $2,000. You give them some tokens and some stuff. What's that? Like a 1.5% pay increase? And maybe you say, you know what, the world's going to get a bit tougher. And instead of giving people a 4% pay rise, we're going to give them a 3.5% pay rise, and we're going to absorb that 0.5%, you know, per year until we've incorporated that AI cost into the employee.
Yeah. And
some people would complain and go, well, no, I deserve that pay rise. Well, I'd turn around and say, well, yeah, but the employee who's got it is going to be way more productive than you. So I want to make that investment, because you're just going to make more powerful humans, I think. So it's that, or someone with the skills comes in and just crushes you all. I mean, that's what's going to happen. But I think the test is not, you know, I just think organizations in their current configuration is not going to be acceptable. Like, all organizations are going to have to change. But that doesn't necessarily mean everyone needs to get fired. It just means we probably just do more good work. We'll be more efficient. We'll focus on different things.
It's very interesting where it's going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it really matters what industry you're in either. Like, you could be in finance, HR, you could be a farmer. Like, this would be useful for farming. You want to build an agent to go and look at markets, pull down all the data, go and look at your crop data, look at the prices of things. Look at what you should be selling stuff for. You could build agent, like think about your entire business. And I know, like Bruce, you work in like water industry and stuff like that. Quoting, customer service.
I just find it hard to get the application to it. You know what I mean? Like, not the application, but you think, where can it help? But, you know, I suppose the more you explore, the more you figure it out and the easier it is.
Yeah, I also think this is one of those skills where you get exponentially better. And the key difference between this and any other form of education is if you don't know the answer, just ask.
Yeah.
Like if you're coding something and you're getting an error, put the error into AI and say, hey, what do I do about this? And then it will recursively fix itself. And even like before, you know, the workflow was a bit rubbish. So I could put that code into Claude Code and go, hey, you know, this isn't working. It's not working or behaving the way I want to do it. Can you write me a prompt to get the agent to go and fix it? And it will read all the code and go, yeah, this is bugged because of X, Y, Z. Usually it's just the context window. It tries to build everything in a certain budget and it just doesn't get finished. And so you've just got it. But you could give the code to Claude Code and go, hey, go off and read all this code. It doesn't really make any sense. I'm not getting a good feeling about this because of whatever reasons. Just write out in English what you're feeling. The AI will go and review the code and go, yeah, based on your feedback, that's really crap. And we need to do X, Y, Z. And it'll write this big document with a prompt. And then you feed that back into the agent and say, hey, dummy, you've missed all this. And then it'll go, oh, okay. It never gets pissed off with feedback either. Like you can just keep iterating and iterating. So like, just don't give up and you'll get there.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
I think it's going to be crazy with it in robots, you know, when the robot can do stuff. That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
I turned full self-driving on my Tesla the other weekend. If you haven't experienced that, like Bruce, you're driving up a mountain highway to Thredbo, 100 kilometers an hour, and you come into a sweeping hard right-hand turn. The car will use the regen braking coming into the corner, slow down, and then accelerate out back to the 100k speed limit as you come out of the corner. And it is like millimeter perfect in the lines. Like it's just driving like it's on rails. And it was crazy because I had my brother and my dad in the car, and occasionally I'd turn it off. And my brother goes, no, turn it back on. Because like it drives so smoothly that when a human's driving, it's jerky, you know, it's sort of stopping and starting and, you know, you don't get the corner right or whatever. And it literally drove me from my house to Mount Eliza, Mount Eliza to Bairnsdale, Bairnsdale to Can River to Thredbo, and all the way back. And it literally didn't make one mistake. It was just like flawless the whole time. But yeah,
it takes a bit to trust it the first few corners.
It's weird, Bruce. Like it was driving at 100 kilometers an hour down the Monash at night, weaving through heavy traffic. And I actually felt safer with it on than off. And it just nailed everything. Like it was just, but you're right. It's amazing how much time you have. Like on some road, we went on this really back road and it was like the edges were all a bit warped and, you know, there were no lines and it dealt with that okay. But there were some bits where it was tentative, like it slowed down. And if it wasn't sure, it would just tell you take over. But the time it takes you to take over, it's not like you're just going to crash like now. You know, like you actually have more time than you think. And so you're just there. But when you start off, it's really annoying. Like it's sort of like, oh, watch the road. You know, like it's really, really fussy. But I think once it understands, you know what you're doing, it just loosens up. And yeah, like it drove down the Monash a lot faster than I would drive if I was driving. Like it was just like and
yeah. I did it once and it took me I put my hands off the steering wheel, but I held them near it, I'll tell you. It's pretty good.
Yes.
Thanks, Tim. I'm going to have to run. Thank you. That was
Yeah.
great.
No,
I have actually created an app in Reddit. I'm still giving it errors, but literally while we were talking, it's so cool.
yeah.
So the app I created was if a person puts in all the because as you know, I'm doing sewing.
Yeah.
So you put in the measurements of the person and you upload a picture of what you want it to make, and it should make the pattern and do all the instructions on how to sew it up. And I just tested it and it's given me all the instructions. It's given me a download button. I think it's missed the download button for the pattern pieces, so it's fixing that.
My mum did one on, I think, cross stitch.
2 minutes. In what?
My mum did one on cross stitch where you could feed the plan in.
Yeah.
And then you'd go stitch, 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 and you hit enter, and it tells you the next set.
Yeah.
Just go enter, enter. Yeah. So.
Yeah. This is done it. I can download a PDF, and I did that, and I downloaded a PDF instructions. That's fixing the pattern pieces now. Like seriously, like that. It told me it took 8 minutes to write all the code and do the app. Like it needs to work. But
how do you get this technology into the workplace? Like imagine how powerful this would be if you're trying to look at compliance or anything. You'll build an agent to custom look at something and you do the work and you can throw it away again because it takes 9 minutes. Who cares?
Exactly. Obviously, it needs a little bit of work, but like for that to get, a minimum viable product basically is what that is. In 8 minutes.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome all.
See ya.
Ciao.
Yeah.